Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Garage Studio Modelers. I'm Dave Forrest with my good friend
Harvey Lowe.
And in today's episode, Harvey's going to talk about I believe this is largely an out-of-the-box build that you did very quickly.
Yes,
right?
Speed build, old vintage kit, totally inaccurate kit, but what the heck, it's about fun.
Nice. So we'll talk about some of the techniques that you did to kind of shave some time off. And then this is just the finished product of the Tiger that we saw in a couple of episodes here where I was doing the road wheels and some of the weathering. It's all done.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. My first Tiger, I had like 50 Tiger kits, and finally I got around to building one.
We were joking. How many you got?
Well, maybe 20.
Like 20?
20.
And you cobbled different bits.
Yeah, so this is the Tamiya, the old Tamiya initial Tiger or early Tiger, I guess, and it's got I took parts from Border Models Tiger. The bin is from Border Models. I stole some of the air filter stuff from a Ryfield Models kit. 3D printed stuff, clamps, some photo etch on it. From Edward Barrow, 3D printed tools from Edward. So it's some scratch built cleaning rod. So it's a bit of everything. But like I said off camera, there's no better kit that is well serviced from the aftermarket community than the Tamiya Tiger. So
you have two extremes, this and this.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Two extremes of modeling here, folks.
Yeah, exactly.
That the hobby can go either way, however which way you want to make it.
Exactly. So, but it's it'll be interesting to see some of the techniques that you've applied here to kind of really shave down the time of the build. So we'll get right to it, and we'll get Harvey to kind of walk through some of the tips and tricks that he's applied to his model here. Thank you. So, walk us through what you did here.
Okay, so sometimes you have conversations, whether it be through social media. I was actually on a Zoom call with another club, and we thought, why do we model? It's for fun. And now some people would go to you think when you drop that piece on the monster rug.
It's not always fun.
Not always fun.
Not always fun.
So I thought, well, why don't we go back to basics and just build a model without caring about how accurate it is, and trying to get a model done quickly. Why not? Instead of spending a year on something that the serious guys, I think there's a lot of modelers out there, Dave, that just want to build for fun, and they don't enter their models, and they just want to get stuff done.
I would agree. And you're right. That is the spirit of the hobby, for sure.
For yourself, right? When we were kids, I would probably go with my friend to the old North York Hobbies in Toronto, buy an Airfix kit, bring it back, and we'd have it done in 3 hours.
Yeah, I used to do that too. Like my parents would go quite often. They get invited to like these dinner parties. They would take me along with them. They would throw me into a bedroom somewhere with a couple of Matchbox kits, and then I had a couple of I had them built in an evening, put the decals on, and then I'm playing with them the next day. Like that's
why we did it.
Yeah, that's what I loved about it when I was growing up.
So this was actually a challenge. One of my Facebook followers, shout out to Chris Coladangelo, he sent me a couple of kits. It just read out of the blue, very generous guy. In fact, we've never met in person. It's one of these things through Facebook you meet. And he said, Harvey, I'm going to send you a couple of kits. Could you just build them quickly? And he sent me this old Airfix Dinah.
I remember I had that kit when I was a kid. Yeah.
And so I said, let's do it. So summary, this model took me a total of about 12 hours to build and paint.
Wow.
That's it, 12 hours. Like over a weekend.
So, okay, I know you but like even just like masking the canopy would take me 12 hours.
Yeah, 12 hours.
That's amazing.
So I call it a speed build. And I'll go over, now if you are talking about a speed build, you're kind of throwing a lot of the basic modeling rules out the window, and I'll go over a lot of that. But you get something done in a day, and you get to build an old vintage kit, which is definitely not the most accurate one out there. So let's start with that. This is the Airfix Dinah, and we're going to show a couple of photos as we're talking. Robert will put them together. You'll see them on screen. And the first one that you're going to look at is the original box art of the original Airfix 72nd Dinah. Now this particular release of the box art was done in 1965.
Amazing.
That's when it was released. And
That's when box art was box art.
Oh, I mean, I like this one. I
Yeah.
like this particular box art. It's action packed with a couple of Corsairs coming down, blowing up an airfield, and ironically, the Ki 46 was one of the few aircraft. Just trivia, Dave, that was very hard to intercept.
Because of the speed.
The speed and the altitude. It came out in the 1930s. I think it made its maiden flight in 1939. But it was designed to replace the Babs, the Ki 15 Babs.
Okay.
And she flew so well and so high that it wasn't until, I think, 42 where the emerging new variants of the Spitfire could catch up. And then they had to move. This particular one that I'm working on is a Dinah II. And you remember the bubble top, the curved canopy, the Dinah 3 is what she progressed to.
And that's what Tamiya has in their 48 scale range.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And while we're talking about availability, the 172nd Dinah, there are a couple of manufacturers that do them. The most accurate is Hasegawa. This one is less so, but it's still fun. But interestingly enough, we were talking on off camera when we had Dave Brown pop by, and what are some of the new releases that have never been done before? And a 1/48th Dinah 2 has never been done.
Interesting.
In any scale. So Tamiya, like people are asking for a 1/48th Dinah 2. The Dinah 3 is the bubble-nosed one, right? So that's one of the ones that's not done in 48 scale, but in 72nd it's done. It's gone through a couple of iterations of releases. The box art that you see there is, I think, around the 1970s. Same kit, but that's the classic 1970s.
Again, when box art was box art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's being chased by what appears to be a Hellcat. I mean, that was... You want to buy the kit just for the box art.
Yeah. Or Wildcats.
That's right. And then of course there's this, basically this is the one I have here. That's the 1970s release. This is the 1980s box art. Less interesting, but still it's the same kit. Just and again, these all have different markings. And the markings generally are accurate, right? And this is the 90s, I believe, release where they give you a little bit. These Decals were quite good, and they give you a little more.
But same molds.
Same, exactly the same.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you look, when I started building this kit, in the old days, that's what you see on the wing. That's 1965 or 66, molded in the wing. So you know you've got a vintage kit. It hasn't. Has the mold stayed up with time?
At least they had the good taste to mold it on the inside of the wing and not right on the fuselage or.
Oh, you mean like the raised markings where you put the decals?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Remember those?
Yeah. Now, generally with any model, and this is a quick build, you start with the interior. Right? And a quick note on interiors. These aircraft, these are Army aircraft. Ergo the designation Ki, which is short form for Kitai. Not Ki, but Ki. Ki 46, they were colored in those early days by actually a blue-gray interior color. So there's the AK brand that you see on the screen there by number. That's the one I used. But I did use the Eotake for the metallic blue for the, you can see in the photo, the wheel wells. But the cockpits of these things were that blue-gray color. So do want to do your homework, even if it's a fast project. And those are the interior colors. And again, I'm not adding anything to the interior. I'm just...
Right. You're just painting it.
I'm just painting it. I do mask it, and this photo shows, so that you want to have some semblance of cleanness when you apply the top coat. But generally, I'm not doing anything. And even this interior painting was maybe 20 minutes. Change. And now you see a photo of the interior that's actually painted. Now, you notice, Dave, from this one, I don't know if you do this, but the Dinah had small windows. And I usually mask them from the inside. Do you do that?
No.
Really? How do you mask when you come to a situation like that? How do you mask your windows?
I'll usually mask them from the outside. So
Really?
I'll put if there's a transparency, I'll put it in.
Oh, you put the transparency in.
Yeah, and I'll just mask it. That way I can make sure it fits. It's sealed. It's one with the fuselage.
Right.
But I'm not an expert when it comes to this at all. So.
Well, that's why there is no transparency here. See, I put the transparent after. And I figure it's just faster for me just to put a small... Now, the tape's got to be matching so that you can remove it later from the outside, right?
Oh, I see. So you pull it out. You pull it out.
You pull it out, right?
Well, why mask it? Just to prevent
just to
overspray
prevent
from
the
coming in?
from going in,
Really, I wouldn't even worry about that.
That's true too, given a small scale. There's there's no detail in this thing. There's nothing.
Exactly. But okay, interesting.
Yeah, and as you can see on the finished model later, you can't really see
That
much.
camo scheme would take me 12 hours alone. Like,
We'll go on with well that I wanted to choose a neat one, and I'll tell you how I did that. Another angle of the interior is showing you kind of like closer to finish. Now you know that the instrument panel's a Decals.
yeah, that's right from the kit Decals. Yeah,
I think I might have just pulled that from the spare box.
in the spare box. Okay.
Like it's not accurate, but you just
Okay,
you can't tell.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah,
You
exactly.
can't tell.
Exactly.
It's 72nd scale. And I did modulate. You can tell I did modulate it a bit.
Yes.
And in the back, I put a little wood table and I just painted, not accurate, paper seat belts. But there you go. It's pretty basic. Now, the one thing that you do have to do with these old molds is you got to thin some of the trailing edge. So I did that. This photo shows
On both sides, just to get a neater joint, a thinner joint.
Right, and you're taking the blade and you're scraping. You're not cutting.
Yeah.
You're scraping.
And you're doing that across the whole wing, or are you just doing that where the flap is?
I'm doing it across the whole trailing edge of that entire wing, so that the ailerons are also fairly sharp.
Right. Okay.
Right. So that is a bit of a thing that you want to do. These old kits, they didn't have quite precise trailing edges in their wings, so I did have to do that. These are the rear horizontal stabilizers, and I'm only showing this because they're raised panel lines. I didn't bother rescribing. You know, I'm doing a more serious 1/48 B17, and that'll be later. But
That's beautiful, by the way.
Thank
Beautiful,
you.
beautiful.
But I didn't rescribe it. I just left the raised panel lines, and I've posted it on Facebook, and I haven't had anybody say, "Well, that just looks horrible." So, can you actually see panel lines from 72 feet away or 48? That's my logic.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if I was to rescribe this, that's
Oh, forget it. Yeah.
rescribe a B17 at 48 scale.
Yeah, there's that investment on the effort and the risk that you inject by doing
And
right.
the
We
risk.
talked about that, right? So
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So I take shortcuts when you're doing a speed build. This is the model it looks like with the masking now and the wheel wells ready for painting. You see there's quite a bit of putty on these old things. But again, when you're doing this type of work, I'm not too fussed about ghost seams. I just want to putty it and just...
Yeah, just to get rid of the obvious gaps. Yeah.
There's no rescribing.
Yeah.
I don't even think I even reapply the leftover, the missing details.
And what kind is that? Humbrol putty that you're using, or what is that?
Yeah, good note. Humbrol putty, I find if you can get it, it's a thicker, more resilient putty than Tamiya. So I usually go with a wider gaps of Humbrol putty. Good question. And then the smaller finesse seams, there's just Tamiya putty.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So if you can
And you're
get
just sanding that back.
Yeah, just send it back. And now here's the thing: how do you mask the canopy? Now you were mentioning it take you forever. Here's the secret. Here's the canopy as it looks. Now it's kind of in its finished state, but what I do is the canopy is masked with the horizontal. Like you take kabuki tape, Tamiya tape, and you focus on the horizontal
Right.
panels, paint it, and then
Take it off.
take it off and do the other vertical panels. And if you're missing some stuff, you just fill it up by eye. It's very quick.
Interesting.
So you're not using any mask, you're just going by eye.
And do you treat your canopy like do you dip it in future? Or
I
you
did.
You did. Yeah.
I did, because that's now
There
there
you go.
I had it in the wrong order. So there's how I do you
Wow.
can see. Now the front part of it is more difficult because you do kind of like do it by eye. But I'm doing this quick. And it's not for a contest. I just want it on my shelf.
But if you wanted to, you could still apply the same principles. You just mask off each strut or frame.
Yeah.
And paint it and just do that several times.
You could.
You could do that.
You could.
That's interesting. Huh.
Right? So just do there's the main canopy, the forward canopy. You see, the vertical ones go first.
Yeah.
Right? Is another angle of it. And then I use a stick to spray paint it. Right? Like
You protect the inside.
yeah, protect the inside, and then you cover off. So the canopy in this case was already done before I put it on. So now you see the tape covering the whole thing, so that I don't.
So the canopies are underneath the tape.
Of the tape. They're already done.
Nice.
Right? So that's how I do the canopies fairly quickly. Are they inaccurate? Probably are. But Does it work?
It's a speed build.
It's a speed build. Now I think up in this, and this is where I paint the parts, where I use styrofoam, and just kind of put the parts on toothpicks, very quick. And by the way, the process to where I got to this point was to the aircraft to that point. The interior was done in about maybe an hour or less, and then I immediately glued it. I just did some modulation. I did a wash. Now here's the trick: if you're going to modulate, you do all that with the airbrush, and then you use a different medium. In this case, it was the oils and enamels. You can actually apply oil and enamel washes over an acrylic paint like Tamiya within minutes. Just dry it with an air, right?
Yeah.
Put the wash on. You can do that right away.
Just like we saw with Dave in the whitewash
and
the chipping
You
fluid.
do it right away. You don't have to wait a night or any of that stuff. And now there's the first coat of the, in this case, I used Tamiya colors. I think it was IJN. It was a navy color, but it kind of worked. It was like a gray-green color. I forget which one it is. We'll put it in the notes later.
And are those decals for the Hinamara?
No, I actually used, well, the decals were so horrible. It's just using a circular cutter, and I just... And I painted them after the base coat.
Japanese Hinamaras are the easiest thing to replicate with masks.
Way easier.
Yeah.
And I used one of those circle cutters.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Nice.
But you start with an overall color, and these were a gray-green army color. And I masked off, and I did the Hinamaru and the leading edge ID stripes after the base color. Right? And there's another angle of the model. And at this time, I'm at to maybe 5 hours.
Wow.
It's that quick. Right?
Wow.
And you're using a hair dryer.
Yeah, just
to constantly make sure the paint is dry. And
now the 5 hours, is that like bench time?
Bench time.
Bench time, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this application, once you get the primer on and you're spraying, it's pretty. The toughest, there's the decals from the kit, which were actually horrible. But I only put them here because I didn't use those, as we talked about. I painted them. But I use these. These are beautiful decals. If you're into 1/72nd, they do some 48th. They're put out by Rising Decals. And this one is Emperor's Eyes Part 2. I was looking for an interesting scheme, and I found it in these series of decals. And that's an example of the decal sheet. You can see the one here is the fourth aircraft down, right? Third from the bottom. And so that was the pattern, and it's a kind of like an airbrushed squiggly pattern.
Yeah.
It's a unique pattern. There's a dot in the middle, and there's squiggles around it. And so that's the one I chose.
And is that like squadron markings?
Yeah, there's. If you look closely, well, I don't know. It's kind of we'll see some finished models. There is a. You can see here. There's a little marking.
Oh,
there.
all right. Okay.
That's it.
Okay, and that's from that set.
That's from that set.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Nice.
There's a close up. See?
Wow.
And I thought, well, that's cool.
That's a hell of a camo scheme to pick for a speed build harv, isn't it?
Well, we always have fun of this. I have a custom micron, and
even so,
the settings are just, and
it's
then
incredible.
I did this pattern in 1 hour.
Really?
1 hour. Yeah.
That's fascinating. Wow.
Now you got to make sure your paint mixture's good. Don't spray on a humid day. Make sure your air pressure is nice and low.
Incredible.
And once you get your mojo, I don't stop. Because once I get the right mixture... Now, by the way, a note. I used Gunzi paints, but the old formula... the new ones work just as well. There's 2 Gunzi acrylic paints. The old ones with the colorful labels and the newer ones. They both work well. I thin the Gunzi paints for this type of tight pattern with... probably like 40% paint, 60% thinner. But the 60% thinner is half of distilled water and about 70% isopropyl alcohol.
You don't use the leveling fluid?
No.
You don't go with the
No.
lacquer thinner?
No. I find
even though they're acrylics, they thin beautifully with
They
the
say yes, but these will thin well. The Gunzis will thin well with that mixture of... So the thinner is 60%, so half of that 60 is distilled water, the other half is isopropyl alcohol.
And why I think I know the answer to this, but I'll ask it anyway. So why the isopropyl alcohol?
First of all, it doesn't stink when you're doing a detailed pattern, which kind of is distracting to me. And secondly, I find that with that mixture, after experimenting, it gives you a nice tight line. And you add, write this down, you add a couple of drops of dishwashing liquid.
To break the tension.
Yeah.
But the alcohol will help do that too.
It does.
Right?
It does.
Yeah.
I find 70% works, but 99 does too.
Yeah.
But 70% is probably the best.
Nice.
And that gives you that tight pattern. And I have no secret to it. You just do it. And if there's overspray, then you got to correct your pressure or your paint thinner. Now, there's the decals that you can apply to they're very simple. So if you're doing a quick build, don't do anything fancy with markings.
Yeah.
Because you won't make it.
Or camel patterns, but you didn't really pay attention to that. But that's okay.
Now, oddly enough, I have this thing called a Cameo 4 vinyl cutter. Now, I could have used those decals, but I thought, let's see how low these you can get those little tiny black marks using a cutter. I like to experiment. And I got it to work. So the decals were those, but I actually used a Cameo to
mask
off the tiny,
nice.
and it worked.
Nice.
But you can use decals. Now, there's the final product you can see on the screen that's a lot clearer than what we have on the table here. And, for a 12-hour build, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
The propellers are completely wrong. They're just the wrong shape. The distance of the engine nacelles to the fuselage is wrong. But does it look like a Dinah?
It does, yeah.
And it's a kit I did as a kid.
Yeah.
Didn't you say you did this one?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I didn't do anywhere near as good a job at the time, but
Neither did I when I was 4.
But I did build one. Yeah, yeah. That's
See?
amazing. Wow.
Right? And I didn't do any weathering. No weathering on it. No chipping either. I didn't bother. So you're cutting your build time down.
Yeah.
I think I might lie. I think it may be more to 13 hours,
But still, that's
Here's the underside. Pretty basic. The only thing I did add is I used that beautiful Tamiya panel liner stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
For the to accentuate the flaps.
Nice.
But there's the kit.
Beautiful.
Right?
Easy.
In 12 hours, it's on the shelf. That's Easy Line.
Okay.
That I used. And there's a close-up shot of the...
That looks good, actually.
good
I'm looking
enough.
at it live here, and it...
You're looking at it live. Here's it
looks-
live.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing fancy.
No.
Right? But you don't always have to be serious about entering these things in a show. Just... Now, here's the thing. This one's on this beautiful little mirror here. Now, my only comment about... Now, Robert does beautiful bases. Like anything rare, we just talked about the set that you just bought to make a Stug 4 and 48 scale.
Yes. Yeah.
Buy them when you can, because then they're gone. This particular base, people ask me, like, where'd you get it? It's on the back here. The company's long gone, Mirror Base, by Inverted Flight Productions. Like this, I got this in maybe the 90s.
They had a show or something?
Yeah, I might have bought it from their website. They're gone from the website.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
yeah, when you see rare stuff,
get stuff.
buy it.
And it just
Stimulate the economy.
stimulate the economy. So there's nothing really more to say about this. It's
No, it looks that's fantastic. Like for a 12-hour
12
quick
hours.
build of an old vintage kit, that's phenomenal.
Would I take it to the Nats? No. Would I put it on a display at the Nats? Sure.
Is there any key takeaways from this that you would apply to other builds going forward?
Very good question. So summary, if you guys want to do a quick build, you kind of got to throw the rules out the window. Your seams don't have to be perfect. Because your aircraft, sometimes there's a ghost seam and you're there for... Don't worry about it. By the time it's for you, right? So don't be too fussed about the seams. Don't rescribe. Don't put a rivet tool to it. You'll be there forever. Just leave. These are raised panel lines. Can you tell from 72 feet away that they're raised panels? You cannot tell. So I don't think you have to be as anal. Can I use that? Anal, retentive on that. And the only thing that you want to do is make sure that you take some shortcuts, like in the canopy masking, and just use some good quality paints. You do want to make it accurate from a paint perspective, but don't bother trying to fix anything that may look out of whack. These hubs are totally wrong. But who cares?
But it's a vintage kit. I mean,
It's a vintage kit, and then it's out of box.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be working on the monogram. I got the monogram 1/32nd scale Panzer IV
Oh,
for $5, mint in the box, and I might do it.
they should have paid you $5 to take it.
I might do it. So really, this is a quick video on a quick build.
That's that's phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, what a nice little build that came out of it.
Yeah, and it was fun.
The camo scheme makes it.
The camo scheme does make it. You could do it overall. They even save more time. You could probably knock it down to 10 hours.
Yeah. Now, do you think? Now, do you think if you would have used the decal either from the set or maybe not the kit, but the set that you had,
I could.
would that have saved you any time?
Yes, it would have.
A little bit.
It's just I thought, let's see how small this cameo printer can go.
Right.
And it can go quite small. That's just
all
me.
right. That's all right. Yeah, nicely done, Harv.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
We'd like to see you do a 35th Tiger like this in 12 hours.
I should try. I have enough of them, right?
You do.
I do. Yeah.
So I think the moral of this is, as you get into model building, I think quite a lot. Is it safe to say that not everybody enters contests? And while I do scratch builds and I do enter shows, you can do this.
Yeah, and sometimes get in the way of enjoying, right? Because you're so fussed on.
No, yeah.
Right, like I got to make it perfect because it's going to get judged. But if you're just
You
doing
don't
something
have
for
to.
this, that's
Get it on the shelf.
Yeah, exactly.
So let me look at your stuff here. Okay, so you have how many kits here?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
A couple hundred.
Couple hundred maybe. Yeah.
Now, if you spent 10 hours on each one, not that it's, but if you did, you may actually get quite a few done.
Yeah, you're right.
You may get quite a few.
Yeah. As opposed to the 80 to 100 hours I typically spend.
And I do take time on some models. I take a year, but you do one of those, you do this. So I encourage all of you guys just to try a vintage kit for me.
Yeah, and so that maybe like as a palette cleanser in between
Palette
more complex builds, right?
Yes.
That's a great idea.
So there you go.
Very nice. Well, that's our episode for this time. Thanks again for hanging with us, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.